Hey, Tracy,
Hey, Rose.
ready to join me as co host today on Chat Off the Mat?
You know it. Let's do this.
Everyone, I am super excited because today I'm joined by Tracy Seawright, the incredible host of Ready, Set, Reiki. We've got an amazing episode planned for you, and Tracy's bringing her unique perspective and expertise to the table. So, wherever you are, at home, at work, or on the road, let's dive right in. Today on Chat Off the Mat, Tracy Seawright and I welcome Vialet B. Rayne. Vialet is an accomplished author, spiritual educator, and healer with over 50 published works tailored for her classes. She has been featured in various published books and articles, and her expertise has led her to be a sought after speaker at expos, retreats, and conferences. In addition to being a guest on numerous podcasts, she's also the host of the gold winning podcast Sacred Magic. Violet holds the titles of Master Teacher in Angelic Reiki, Fairy Reiki, and Reiki with the Violet Flame. She's a gifted sound healer and an Akashic Record Master. She's also the founder of the Sacred Temple Mystery School and the creative force behind Discover Your Spiritual Gifts in Denver, Colorado. Welcome, Violet. So
Thank
happy you're
you.
here.
Thank
Yay.
you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. We're going to dive right in and ask a question. I'm interested in your journey as a spiritual educator and healer because it spans so many years, so many disciplines, and you came from another environment. So I would love for you to share your story with the audience.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've always been kind of connected with spirit. And, I lost my father at 8 years old, and I would get messages from him and bring it back to my mother, which freaked her out at times. And so, through that process, like many of us, I shut that down. And so I went another path. I really kind of went into the business corporate world, became an HR executive and had climbed the ladder of success like many of us were told if we get an education and we work hard and we go after that career we can have everything. But really what I found after I had achieved all that there was missing something. There was something missing in joy and something missing in life. And so sitting down and having those hard questions of what is this life about? What are we doing? Where are we going? And I had been working with someone that was a theta healer, and I just, I felt like my intuition in HR was just natural and everybody had it, and I didn't think anything about it until one day she said, "You can do this." And your dad is saying it's time for you to step into who you are. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, you are intuitive, you are psychic, you have the ability to heal, you have all these gifts. It's time for you to step in. So I think that's when I really started searching for answers. Like, what is this life a lot about? Because I had tried all the churches, Baptism and Protestant, and you keep seeking for what's missing and you just can't seem to find the whole package. And so, I kept moving around trying to find it. And, that led me down a path to explore something that I never even thought about. Like, I didn't know what Reiki was, I didn't know what mediumship was. I didn't know what she meant by being a psychic. And so going down those paths of really asking those questions and then really recognizing that I'd been following, been guided most of my life through the things that I had done, those gut feelings, that intuition that comes in. It just guided me down a path that took me exploring lots of different things.
It's really amazing how you were able to follow that gut guidance, that intuition, because some people are actually afraid of it because they
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to expect. They don't know what it is. And I'm sure a lot of this happened at a time where there weren't a lot of resources and internet and books and all that. So it was a lot of discovery on your part.
Well, and
And
there's fear there, right? People, as you said, they're very afraid. And it was interesting at the time I lived a little bit north of Orlando, Florida, which is very much that Southern Bible Belt, and you don't have a lot of that out there. And this woman said, you need to look into Reiki. And I'm like, what's Reiki? I've never even heard of Reiki. And she's like, go to the library and pick up some books. And I was like, I'm not going to the library. I'm going to Barnes and Noble. And I kind of cleared the shelf of all these books that I bought and took home. And then doing research in the area, what I found was a spiritualist camp that was 5 minutes from my house. And I didn't even know it existed. I'd lived there for 7 years, had no idea that that even existed. And just by stepping in to that environment, I felt like I had come home. And as I walked into their metaphysical store, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like Harry Potter door opening. And you're like, what is this? What are all these things and crystals and healing, and what are they talking about? I want to know more about it. And so, getting pulled into that curiosity of, just, hey, I want to discover, I'm okay, I'm going to be fine, I want to see what this is all about, and trusting that instinct. It was the door that opened up for me for lots of different things.
And you've talked about past lives before, and I've read that about, I think all of us have connected with that. I think when you walked into that store, you connected to a lot of your past life stuff. You already know what's going on. It's just reconnecting to it.
Right.
Right?
And recognizing it, right? Like this felt really comfortable to me. It felt really perfect to me. It was like that aha moment that comes up. And I think it takes us being curious, and I think there's a part of us that has to let go of that fear that has been planted in this, that this is bad, that this is evil, that you shouldn't be doing this. I think we know when we step into something that isn't for us, if we really tap into our body tells us, hey, there's danger down that alley. Hey, you shouldn't go right there. If you really lean into that feeling that we get, right? You can be guided. It's about trusting. Okay, I don't know why I'm running late today, but there must be something that I need to miss today with a few minutes of running late. And I think it's just new perspective of, okay, I'm trusting what's happening here. And you're right. It was like coming home to something that I had done before, seen before, and stepping into that.
That's beautiful. Now, you have a spiritual center, and I would
Mhm.
love for you to share this story and how that came about.
Well, it's very interesting. I got married 10 years ago. I had been single for over 15 years, and, single woman doing the corporate career thing. And as we started to make plans for our future, he was like, you work really hard, you're a college professor, you're an HR person. When we get married, I would love for you to tell me what is something you would really love to do. If you could do anything in the world, what would that be? And I said, I would have a spiritual center. Now, you have to understand, my husband's a rocket scientist, and he does not understand this world at all, does not connect to this, only looks at the science side. And he goes, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I said, I would have a spiritual center where I could teach spiritual classes and see clients. I really want to step into who I am. But I know that if I do that, I can't go back to the HR world, and I can't go back as a college professor, because once the world knows that I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, I'm a channeler, those avenues really narrow down. There's not a lot of organizations or companies. And so just know this has to be my last career, and I've got to really dive into it. And so, when we first opened, it was a small little space, and I was going to teach a few classes, and I was going to see clients. And, our world guides us, and one thing leads to another. And people would come in and go, I would love to have a space to work in. I would love to have a space to teach in. I would love to be part of a community. And so the center just kept getting bigger and more people and bigger and growing and expanding. And my world has continued to grow and expand as I've stepped into this. So it was really kind of scary in the beginning because you're leaving something that you've invested most of your life into to step into something. You're leaving a six-figure career, you're leaving a life that you understand and know, that you've went to school for, that you've got certifications, to step into something that's really new. And I'm such a scholar that when I do anything, I want to know all the ins and outs and where it came from and how it started and who started it. So it was really a deep dive as I started stepping into this world fully.
I want to focus a little bit on Reiki, and I know you're a Reiki master but you're also a Reiki master in other forms of Reiki, not just the Usui Reiki that we know, but you have Angelic Reiki, Fairy Reiki, the Violet Flame. Can you talk a little bit about what drew you to these different modalities and maybe some of the differences of each?
When I first stepped in the world, and I think people that are new to this think that they have the corner on the healing that everyone needs. I think Reiki and all the healing modalities are very much similar. They're very much coming from the same source. They're very much in different perspectives. I think it's important for people that are looking for healing to find the person that they resonate, to find where they're called to. I don't think there's one corner that holds all the knowledge. So if you go and do research on Reiki, you're going to find 70 plus different kinds of Reiki, right? There's this Reiki and there's that Reiki and there's this perspective from this teacher and that. So when I stepped into Reiki, I actually took Reiki 3 times from 3 different masters and went through the whole program. And at the end of that, it was like, there's something missing. Like, where's the sacredness? Where's the reverence? Where is the divinity in this? Because I feel like it needs to be divine. And so I kept searching. And then somebody came to me and said, I'm taking an angelic Reiki class this weekend. And I'm like, angels. Now that's my jam. Like angels, I love angels. I work with angels all the time. Sign me up. I want to take this class. And the teacher was amazing and wonderful. But as a college professor and a person that understands adult learning, when I walked away from that class, I'm like, I could do this so much better. I could provide it in such a better space. But it was an amazing modality. And angelic Reiki is a very high vibrational type of Reiki. Most people that do Reiki usually spend anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half in a session. Angelic Reiki lasts 10 minutes. Like they're in, they're out, they're done, it's finished. And the person can feel really high from the energy because it's such a high vibration that you really want to make sure that they feel grounded before they leave your space. It's a very sacred, very sweet way to do Reiki. Now, because I've done all those Reiki classes, I had this draw to the violet flame. If you've ever worked with the violet flame, it's so powerful. And I was partnering with a teacher and I said, I want to move my traditional Reiki to something else. Like, not that traditional Reiki is not great, because I've had that, Karuna Reiki, all of those, but I really want to bring in something that with the Reiki that's different. And we got to talking, and Saint Germain steps in and he's like, the violet flame. And I'm like, really? Reiki and the violet flame? If you've ever worked with Saint Germain, you've ever worked with the violet flame, it is very much about transformation, about clearing blocks, clearing patterns that we have. And when you combine those two together, it becomes very powerful. So people that are looking for that traditional teaching of putting somebody on a massage table, doing a 45-minute to an hour and a half session, and Reiki with the violet flame is perfect. And we don't tell our clients a lot about it. They typically don't know what the violet flame is, but we've had clients come from those sessions and go, I saw violet energy everywhere. Well, it's because the violet flame and Reiki is moving through us and out through our hands, and they're seeing that. And they get attuned in the violet flame temple in the etheric field by Saint Germain. I mean, what's more powerful than bringing those two together? It's really an amazing class. Now, here's the other thing. I also created Fairy Reiki, and you're probably going, Fairy Reiki? Why Fairy Reiki? Well, some of the hardest things to heal and clear is inner child wounds, past trauma, things that are really deep and buried, because most people are afraid to really step into that energy and really do that healing and move through that. And the fairies come in this very playful, very fun, magical way, and they take you on this beautiful journey, and they help you connect back into your inner child, and they help you release those inner trauma wounds and deep wounds that we have in a very playful, very gentle way. So Fairy Reiki allows the practitioner to really work with somebody that has a lot of inner child wounds and abuse and trauma to be able to do that. So when I look at these Reikis, they're the same, but they're different, right? Depending, and I don't think in these days we need one tool in our toolbox. It's nice to have several tools that, hey, I have this client that Fairy Reiki would be perfect for. Hey, I have this client that Reiki with the violet flame is going to be really important. Hey, I have this client that Angelic Reiki is going to really assist them in moving through that. And it's just being open that not one healing modality is the absolute one. There are lots. And what do you really need today? And how can we help you today? So those are the differences in those Reiki programs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, there's such a wonderful variety of Reiki out there. So you have some individuals out there that feel the Azui is the only way and there's nothing else. But then there's others that take the Azui training and it's just not right for them. So say find your just right. Go out there and explore, and you need to feel it. You need to experience it to see which one works for you. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that comes with experience and wisdom that, hey, everybody has a tool that's a really great tool. Do you resonate with that person and that tool? But it's all coming from universal source, whatever you believe in. It's just stepping into what works best for you.
right. And having that idea that as a master teacher that you complete a training and that's it, you can't go any further. You have that ability to tweak things and make it your own and take it and run with it. Maybe you're seeing something, oh, that doesn't work, but this works for me, so that you can add that. So you look back at the lineage with Azui, Dr. Hitachi made tweaks to it. He changed it. He's the reason we lay down on that massage table. Then Madame Takata began to change it. And then so forth as to where we are today, where we have such a beautiful variety of things. And just like you said, Angelic was your jam, right? That was the one for you. So going along on your journey where like, oh, animal Reiki might work. Ooh, crystals. And you pick and you work the best that you can for your clients. I think the best advice that I heard from someone when I asked them about, what's your favorite Reiki to use? And she said the one that is the best for the client.
Right, right. I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, and Tracy's also has a teaching background. So, and I have an HR background. So this trinity here is
I know,
perfectly
right?
matched.
I'm like hearing her story and it's
Well,
like, are we
Karuna.
walking
Yeah.
similar paths here?
Same here. I love that. Let's talk about your Sacred Temple Mystery School. It's fascinating, and it offers so much, and you were guided to open that school.
It's very interesting because I found a mystery school when I moved to Colorado, and I went to that school for a little over 3 years and had amazing connections, and the teachings were absolutely beautiful. The teacher of that school was very interesting because she always planted these seeds that we were not worthy. We were not worthy to teach. We were not worthy to be there, that we had no worthiness. So when I left that school, I was a little bit broken and sad and kind of pulled back from walking that sacred path, but it was something I really couldn't get away with. And so when I met my husband 10 years ago, he's like, "You're a teacher. You need to teach this stuff. You need to find a way," because people would come to my home that had been students that were very hurt, that were very broken, and really saying, you know, it wasn't you, it was all of us. We all felt that. It wasn't your thing. And so I kept saying, well, I can't teach these teachings. I can't step in to be that teacher. I can't do that. My husband's like, "You're crazy because you teach all the time." And then I had people coming to me going, "I would really love to have some of those teachings. I would really have that, like to know that wisdom." And I'm like, "I can't do that. I just can't." And so I kept resisting and pushing away and really pushing hard back that there would be no way. Now, as a college professor, there's a seed planted in me that people have the right to their teachings, whether they get it from somewhere else. I'm very, very conscious of, I resource everything and everything that I teach. This is where it came from. This is where it originated. This is where I got it. And so I had students coming to me going, "I really want to learn this." And I kept saying, "No, no." And then finally, through meditation and through stillness and really fighting back, Archangel Metatron and Lord Melchizedek kept showing up for me and saying, "You are going to recreate this and you are going to teach this." And I kept saying, "No." And they're like, "Yes, you are." So the Sacred Temple was created in 2017, 2018. So it's been around for quite a while. It continues to grow. So the class of Sacred Priesthood, just to give you an example, which is the initial path coming in, is 13 classes. It's 12 books. Those books are anywhere from 200 to 300 pages a piece, and they get a book each month to learn from. And so those are self-published, designed books that people walk away and go, just the teachings in the book are worth the journey and the class because it's so profound and so expansive. And so being led that, I'm very honored to be given that responsibility. And I take it very strongly that they selected me to do this, and I work really hard. And every class starts with them holding space for me and guiding me as I channel at different points in the class. Information comes through, and I'm constantly learning as the students are learning. So it's a really powerful, transformational program that I have students that have been studying with me up to 5 years now in that school. So it's been an amazing journey being able to offer those classes.
So these classes, so you have 13 classes for the Sacred Priesthood. Is that part one of multiple levels of classes that you teach?
So when you come into the mystery school, you start with Sacred Priesthood. It's the foundation. It's the element of fire. And that program alone takes you through 13, well, really 12 programs and then graduation. So the first one is New Beginnings. So it's very shamanic. It's very much getting back to the earth. How do we connect to the elements? What were the Native Americans trying to teach us about our connection to Gaia and the earth and the medicine wheel? And how does all that work? The second class is about protection, because when we step onto our spiritual path, whether it's healing or whatever it is, coaching, we get very sensitive to the energies around us because we're asking to be connected with everything around us. So how do you protect your field? How do you protect your energy? How do you know that's not my energy, that belongs to that person? How do you protect your space and create a very sacred container to live in and to do your work? The third class is about sacredness. How do we define sacredness? What is an altar? What are angels? How do we step into a sacred life? The fourth class is beauty, And it's all about how do we recognize beauty, not the beauty that shows up in a magazine, but the beauty in the sunset, the beauty within us, the beauty in somebody else. How does rose energy come into our field? It's the highest vibration. How do we use it for healing? What is the sacred geometry in roses? What was Jesus and Mary Magdalene trying to teach us in their life here? The fifth class is love and grace. How do we love each other? Because that's an important element. What is grace? What is mermaid magic? How do we step in? What does the sea give to us? What does salt mean to us? What does emotions and water energy, and how do we connect to that? The sixth class is healing, and it's about essential oil healing. It's about flower essence healing. It's about understanding the violet flame. It's about fully stepping into there are lots of different healing modalities, and how do we heal ourselves, our generations, our ancestors. The seventh class is about gratitude, because I think one of the most important ways to live is through gratitude. There's a little bit of Kabbalah in there, so they get to touch on the Jewish mysticism of the tree of life. What does the tree mean? How do we come through that? The eighth class is magic. Now, I really define magic. Magic is not casting spells. It's not going against somebody's free will, but it's understanding the magic of the sunset, the birth of a baby, how we use universal law to create magic in our life, to understand that our words are magic. We create from what we say. The ninth class is prosperity. It's about learning how to dance with money, to not be afraid of it, to not think it's evil or dark. What does money mean? How do we draw more to us? The 10th class is sovereignty. What does sovereignty mean? How do we step into our own power? How do we create from our own belief systems? Not what we've been told, but what we truly believe. What's our divine truth? The 11th class is ceremony. How do we conduct a ceremony, whether it's a moon ceremony or an end of year ceremony or just a general ceremony? What does that look like? The 12th class is all about service. So how do we serve humanity? How do we make it better? How do we change ourselves to make it better? So that's just priesthood. And when they've completed that path, they're initiated into the order of Melchizedek, which is the oldest priesthood on the planet, which means they are now going to give back in service to humanity, to put more light on the planet, to be of service to the planet. And that's just the first path. After they've completed that, they can look at Warriors of Light, which is water energy, and it's about shadow work. What are you afraid of? What's your fears? What are your shadows? What do you need to know about yourself? What healing do you need to know? How do you clear space? They learn cord cuttings and cap removals and healing modalities, but it's really about them healing themselves. And that class is 7 programs. Then there's Sacred Alchemy, which is 8 programs, and it's about the 7 stages of alchemy, of transformation, how we move through those, how we use honey magic to create beautiful things in our lives. Why are the bees so important? They become stewards of the bees because bees and honey are very creative, very magical, so they bring that in. And then the newest class that's going to come on board is Kabbalah. And so I haven't written that class yet. And then my warriors that complete warriors then can move into DNA activations, which is 4 classes, and they learn how to feed somebody light. They light up an individual's codons and start feeding the physical body light versus food and water to clear out all negative energies. So it's a long 1 class a month for years of stepping on this path, excuse me. So it's a beautiful journey as people decide to step in and take those classes.
That's amazing. And I know you've written all the books.
All the books.
Incredible, incredible. So let's talk about your intuitive gifts here. So you are a psychic medium. Wonderful. And all
Yes.
the other magical and amazing things that you do. So, as someone who channels messages as a psychic medium, what advice do you give to someone who's just beginning to explore these intuitive gifts they have?
That's a great question. Intuition, I believe everybody is intuitive. Whether it's the hairs on their arms stand up when they feel like that's the right answer or right choice, whether it's their stomach kind of gets in knots when they feel like that's not supposed to be for them. We're all intuitive. And I love teaching people through psychic development because it's about starting to trust those instincts. So a lot of people are feelers. They feel it in their body. So if something feels right or doesn't feel right, what does that feel like in our body? Some of us here, and people that are looking to step into their intuition, they expect spirit to come and sit in the chair beside them and have a conversation with them, just like you and I are having. It doesn't work that way. They're in one dimension, we're in another. So, how we connect and start getting messages, it could be through an image that pops in your head. It could be the little girl that walks up to you in the grocery store that's a stranger that says something to you, and you're like, well, that was the question I had 5 hours ago. She just answered it. Whether it's a whisper in your ear, have you ever, I was home one day and I was the only one in the house and I heard someone sneeze on the other end of the house. Now, for most people, they would have freaked out by that, right? And I went, Gesundheit, bless you. I hope you feel better. And I just went on to working. I didn't even think twice about it. Your grandmother or mother that flicks the lights in your house to get your attention or turns on a certain lamp or a text message that comes through from someone on the other side. These things truly do happen. It's when you're open and when your guides, when you put them in the game, when you ask them to be part of your journey and you ask them to join you, they're going to come in full force and start talking to you. But talking to you is not like talking this conversation. It can come through in colors. It can come through in energy. It can come through in numbers. It can come through in symbols or pictures or a movie clip in your mind. It can come through with the song being played on the radio that answers a question that you have for that day. It's all about being open. It's also about playing with the energy. So when I first started opening my gifts, I worked in a building that had 3 elevators, and my office was on the 3rd floor. And I would get in front of that elevator every day and close my eyes and guess which door was going to open. When I left of an evening, I would do the same thing. I wasn't trying to be totally right, but I was testing my gifts. I was playing with them in a way that's not difficult. Have you ever went to your closet of a morning and closed your eyes and said, Spirit, what should I wear today? And trusted that answer, because they may give you an answer that you're like, I don't really want to wear that. And you've defeated the purpose. The purpose is put on that outfit. And then that evening, when you take it off, ask yourself, why was this outfit important for me today? How did it support me today? What was it about this outfit? So I just taught a class this month in December called Flower Readings. Flower readings are from the Victorian age, where women would get in their tea parlors and have their tea, and they'd have fresh flowers in the tea parlor, and they would have people come up with a question at the table, and they would go and pick a flower, and they would read the answer based on the stem, the leaves, the flower, the blossom, the bud. And so it's about really trusting what comes in and playing with it, because developing your psychic abilities, what I find is people don't trust, and they have this fear about believing in it. So if you can do it in a playful manner, in a fun, safe place with other people that are playing with you, then you start to believe in, wow, that message I got the other day, that was right on, right? And so you just start leaning into that and really trusting what's given to you, because we all have it. Now, channeling and mediumship is a whole different thing. Mediumship is about connecting to spirits on the other side and guides, and not everyone wants to do that, right? Some people have a block or a fear to that, and I understand that. But your intuition, your psychic abilities is your divine navigation system. It was given to you to guide you in this lifetime so that you would make better choices, so you would go in a better direction. Mediumship is when you're really open and you want to connect to our loved ones or people on the other side or guides, and you really want to develop that. You can do that. And channeling's about just giving your team permission to talk through you and allowing that to happen in a very natural way. So students that know me on a personal level have come to me and said, I know you were channeling right then, because it changes how you say it, changes how it comes through. And what I do is I just surrender at the beginning of a class. Use me as a vessel, use me for whatever, guide me on what to say, how to say it, where to say it. And I just allow them to do that. So sometimes I don't even know that I'm channeling. It just comes out. And then later you're driving home after class going, wow, that was very profound. That was not me. That was something completely else, right? So that's a little bit about psychic abilities and how to really step into who you are.
Beautiful. I love that. And I love that you put the advice to play with it. As an educator, you might have found this in your journey, very serious, very studying, go by the rules. So when you have students come in, they want to make sure they're doing everything. And I remember a student that was, so many questions. And I said, you know what, just put my manual down, put it aside, just have fun with this and play with it. And I recall I was doing a card reading and doing a kind of a share with a friend, and she did her card reading, and I was doing it the Cal Gray way, and I was getting it all lined up, and her things were all over the place. And she said, well, this is what Spirit showed me. You had so many things open. And after that experience, it was like, you know what? I'm going to put this training aside. It was valuable, but I'm going to play with it and let things come out. And that really helped open my gifts. And just like you had the experience where they sneezed, yesterday I'm in a room, the light turns on by itself. I turned around, I said, yes, I see you. I see where you are. I see you. So it's really wonderful that, you're putting out there just to have fun with it, explore with it, make it your own, be open to it. So we have the advice for the intuitive gifts, but let's go on to how you can integrate this. So your topic of bringing sacredness into your business and life. How can we integrate our spiritual practice into our daily work life?
I love that question because they call me the queen of sacredness. So I have a belief that we are a sacred divine soul having a physical experience, and that our soul craves sacredness. I think it's why most of us are drawn to a beautiful church with stained glass windows, why we're drawn to a beautifully set altar, why we're drawn to a ritual or ceremony is because our soul remembers the sacredness that we have when we're not in this physical experience. So how do we create that sacredness? How do we integrate it in our life? Well, I think you have to ask yourself, what are you drawn to? Do you have altars in your house? An altar can be as simple as herbs sitting in your kitchen around a mortar and pestle that has meaning to you. An altar can be as simple as bath salts in your bathroom with bath bombs and herbs and bubbles and your healing bath, right? Altars don't have to be this big, elaborate thing. They can be as simple as something beautiful. How do we create those things in our lives? We lean into intention. I always tell people everything in my life is purely done with intention. The colors I paint on my wall is very intentional. The colors that I wear are very intentional. I actually think about it. When I set up a class, it creates an experience because I'm very intentional to how I decorate it, to how the book is placed, to how the pencil is placed, to how we pull a card. Everything has intention. So, what is my intention for today? What is my intention for my home? What is in the intention for my workplace? Even as an HR person, I would have essential oils on my desk and crystals on my desk. Those were very intentional. Now, do you think my employees that came to my office even had a clue to what those were? No, but they were drawn to them. I love this oil. This smells so good. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Ooh, this crystal is so pretty. Can I hold it? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Everything was done with intention. So, how you cook, what spices and herbs, how much love you put into your cooking, how much you use your shower and bath for healing, releasing, letting go of the energies of the day, what kind of music, what kind of shows you watch. I'm very intentional to only positive shows, only positive, inspiring music. So, how do we live intentionally? It's a lot on thinking about what are you thinking? What are you doing? What are your relationships about? What's your work about? What is your intention for this day, for this week, for whatever you're doing? I think that is how you bring sacredness in, because once you start leaning in, I love candles because they're very sacred. I love altars. I love rituals of all kinds. And people will be like, I don't like rituals. Well, do you brush your teeth every morning? Yeah, that's a ritual. Do you put your pants on first before you put on your shirt? That's a ritual, right? How you do things, the order you do them, that's all rituals. So, what rituals can support your soul, support you spiritually, support your family, your friends? And so that's how you bring sacredness into your life.
Right. And it's a good point that you pointed out about putting the pants on, right? Brushing the teeth. Because many people think it has to be some type of religion coming into that, but it can just be intentional of, having your favorite scented candle, having your particular crystal, right? Having your favorite cozy blanket to snuggle up with, right? It can be all those things and more. Wonderful. So you have had over 50 published works for your classes. What inspired you to create this extensive educational materials, and how do they support your students' growth?
Well, it's interesting. When I first started on this path, we're all out there searching for spiritual teachers and classes. And I can say that not all of those experiences were great for me. I went to a teacher's class here where I live many, many years ago, and I go into the class, and she, excuse me, and she has us sitting in folding chairs along the wall, no big deal. And there's a sign up in the corner that says, "Don't talk to anyone." I'm like, interesting, right? And so these two girls come into class and they're talking to each other. You can tell they've come together, and so they're communicating. Teacher comes out of the back room, points to the sign and points to them, like doesn't still explain why that sign is there, what its purpose is. So we go through class, and there's nothing to take notes on because there's no tables, right? And she's given us handouts, and we're trying to balance them on our lap, and we're trying to write notes. And then one of the young ladies, because many of us, when we step on this spiritual path, are really sensitive to the fluorescent lighting. And so we cover the fluorescent lighting in the center just to kind of dim the lighting so that people don't feel so uncomfortable. And so one of the ladies said, "Can we turn off some lamps?" And she goes, "You can wear a cap next time to class." And I was like, whoa. And so those types of experiences as a teacher when I came in is, can we be a little more professional? I know that we're spiritual. I know that we're passionate. I know that we've gained expertise in the field, but can we give our students something more? And so the reason I write my books is I'm a scholar. I like to be able to come and have an experience without having to write a ton of notes. If I want to write notes, I want a space to write notes of that experience. I want to be able to take something home so that 3 weeks later, if an idea pops up or something pops up from that class, can I go back and refer to those materials? Can I see where it's sourced? Can I get a clear idea? Now, students that have taken my classes, I've had several of them come to me that have taken classes from other teachers, and they're like, we really wished you would teach teachers how to teach, how to put material together in an organized fashion, how to simplify it so that we can understand it, how to give examples of how to apply and integrate that material. She says, because we'll go to classes and the material is scattered all over the board, or it's a zillion handouts, or you're trying to make notes because they're talking so fast that you can't get all the information. And what a difference it makes to have something colorful and bright and clear and organized really well. And I think that's why students come back over and over again to my classes, is because I provide something that is very practical and scholarly, and they can study it later and they can look at it later and they can refer to it later. And that's what's driven me to write as many books as I do. So even in my small little workshops on the elements or on psychic development, they still get a little 5x7 book that's 40 to 150 pages that they walk away with stuff in it that they can really sink their teeth in. Because I think it's important for me, anyways, when I walk away from a class, I want to be able to look back at it, refer to it, understand it, because as adults, we process in different ways. A lot of us like that hands-on experience. Great. Some of us like to read, like in depth. They'll read every word on every page. Great. Some of us want a simple graphic or a diagram that we can understand. Great. Some of us like to listen, and if we hear it, we remember it. Some of us, if we write part of it down, we'll remember it. You have to understand learning styles are different, and the more of those applications you can give to adults to be able to integrate and learn, they're going to take that and use that versus, yeah, that was a great class. I'm probably never going to use that again. I want it to be valuable. And also, I want to leave something for people to really be able to sit with and really absorb and integrate. So that's the reason I've written all these books, is I absolutely love giving the teachings to people. I mean, how many teachers have you went to that don't really share their wisdom? They don't share why it works, how it works, what it's for. They just tell you that you must do it this way. Why? Right? I'm one of those that I love to give, and I continuously learn myself. I love Kyle Gray's teachings. I love Radley Valentine's teachings, Sandra Ann Taylor, Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer. I've studied all those guys. I love their teachings, and I'm constantly learning myself and diving into things because, we don't, the master knows nothing. The master knows that they know nothing. They have no idea what's going on. It's when you step into that idea that there is so much more to learn and you're ready to learn it, that you really gain from the world. So that's why I've written so many books.
So I'm going to wrap it up with a question. I'm just listening to all the things you've done, this legacy you're creating. I want to know what you do for fun. Because you're so busy. I see that you're working when you're sleeping, even.
That is true. They have me doing stuff in my sleep. This was brought up a long time ago, and here's the interesting thing. I probably work more than most people 24/7, 7 days a week. I'm constantly working. When I'm watching TV of a night, I have my laptop laptop on my lap and I'm working and creating. And I was listening to a podcast or a YouTube channel, and the person was talking about, what do you do for fun and what is play? And after I sat and reflected, my play is writing books. I really love to write. I really love to be creative. I really love the creative process of designing books and putting them together and seeing the outcome of the students and how it changes them and how they're able to work with that information. That play really is that for me. Now, what do I do for fun? I love my family. I love spending time. I love going to the beach and the sand, and I love all those things that people have. But I've actually created a business that is my passion. And when it's your passion, it doesn't always feel like work. It doesn't always feel real heavy. But I also know as a physical being, I have to take care of myself. So I know when my body is starting to get tired. I know when my body needs a rest. I know when I need to pull back. This is the time of the year in December where my body starts telling me it's time to get in your PJs for a week and write and enjoy life and sleep as late as you want and eat whatever you want. And that's how I feed my soul to keep that energy up. But my play really is writing and creating and putting stuff together. It's really what I love to do, is creating my books. And I love when people pick them up and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing and great. That feeds my soul, that I've created something that somebody sees as value, right? So that's really my play. That's what I enjoy most of all, is writing books and teaching. That's where my heart is.
I love that. And one day we're going to see your autobiography for sure on the shelves, right? Yeah, so I want to thank you for being here today, for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to share space with Tracy and I. It's just been a pleasure and a joy having you here on the podcast. Thank you so much, Vialet.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. Tracy, it's so wonderful to meet and connect with you.
Wonderful.
Hopefully someday, maybe I'll see you guys on person. You just never
Right.
know.
I'm going to manifest
works.
that. Yes, absolutely. I see that happening. Thank you
I
so
love that.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.